I taught at Arthur Street. I started in 1976, and I was there when they closed it as a school for students in 1981, in the spring of 1981.
Okay, what other schools did you teach at?
I went to Montgomery after Arthur, and I finished my career at Taft.
Okay. What grades did you teach while you were at Arthur?
Second grade.
Second grade.
Second grade, all of my 35 years of teaching.
Okay. How many students were in a class at that time?
My first year of teaching, I started out with 13 students, and gradually kept getting more students, and by the end of the year I had 21. So, and the classes were a little smaller at Arthur just because it was a neighborhood school and, not as many students. So,
what grades were in Arthur Street?
The first year I was there, it was kindergarten through 4th grade, and then they brought 5th and 6th grade back. 5th and 6th grade had been at Grant, and they brought them back, so then it was kindergarten through 6th grade.
Okay.
And kindergarten was only half days then, so we had 2 kindergarten classes.
And why did they bring them back from Grant?
They had people in Arthur Street in offices, and they moved them, and I can't remember where they went, but then they had the classrooms to bring the 5th and 6th graders back.
Oh, okay. So, how many kids were in the Arthur Street school, like an average?
Probably between 120 and 150.
Okay. What subjects did you teach in your second grade class?
I taught reading and math and social studies and science, and we had English separate from reading. It wasn't language arts then. We had English, and we did writing. So pretty much the same things we do now, only categorized differently.
Okay. Did your teaching change over the years as far as how you taught those subjects, or?
Yes, much more standardized as my career went on. It was a little more, when I first started, you could teach some of the things that you enjoyed teaching, and not necessarily in the curriculum, but as standards got stricter, it was you had to follow the standards, and you didn't have time to do the other things, a lot of the other things.
And what special classes did the kids have besides your class?
They had gym and music and art, and the gym doubled as the cafeteria. The gym had very low ceilings, so it wasn't a lot of things that kids can do in gym now, and a very small space. But they did have gym class.
Did they have an art class room that they went to, or did they come to your classroom?
The art teacher came to our classroom. The music teacher came to our classroom. The only thing they were out of the classroom for was gym. And they also had library. And we did have a small library.
Okay.
So.
What homework did they have to do?
They had very little homework. They were expected to read, and that was about all they were expected to do then.
Okay. Did they have spelling words or anything
Yes,
they practiced?
I'm sorry. They did have spelling words they practiced at home, too. Yes. We asked them to practice math facts and things like that, but they didn't have regular math homework like we have now.
Okay. Now, you said that they ate lunch the same place that they had gym. So how did lunch work? I mean, did they have a kitchen, or what?
There was no kitchen, and lunch was brought in. I believe it was brought from the high school.
Okay.
So we were a satellite school as far as lunches, and obviously there wasn't gym during lunchtime because it was the same room. Mm-hmm. But a lot of kids packed their lunch, but there were hot lunches brought in from, and like I said, I think it was the high school where it was cooked and prepared, and then it was brought to Arthur Street.
Now, as far as recess, what was recess like?
We had 3 recesses. We had a morning recess, a lunch recess, and an afternoon recess. The recess was on the paved side of Arthur Street. There's a gravel side and a paved side on the outside, so it was a very, very small playground. Fenced in, they had a slide and some swings and a jungle gym, and then the blacktop area to play.
Okay, and did the different grades go out at the same time, or did they have different recesses?
Sometimes we overlapped, but since there was only one of each class, so we had one. Well, we actually had 2 kindergartens because they were half days, and then we had one first, one second, one third, and so sometimes first and second overlapped with recess, but whoever was the teacher was always out there with the kids.
How did kids get to school?
Most of them walked. A few of them came by car with their parents. Part of the time, we actually had some students bust from Montgomery because Montgomery was full. So we had a few students bust from Montgomery, but most of the students walked.
Okay. Did parents bring them, or they just walked?
Most of them walked. A few parents brought them, bad weather or something like that, but most of the kids walked, and we had safety patrol to help them cross. And but most of the kids walked to school.
Okay. So, were there any other responsibilities kids had besides class? Like, did they have student council? Did they have, you said safety patrol. What was that?
That we had safety patrol that helped the kids cross the street.
Okay, and what grade were those kids?
Those, when we had sixth graders, those were sixth graders.
Okay.
They really weren't other responsibilities.
Did they have choir?
No.
No.
They didn't have
Okay.
choir. We did music programs with the different grade levels,
Okay.
but there was not a choir.
And when you had performances for parents, where did you do that?
We were in that gym cafeteria area.
Okay.
And we packed them in. We would have a good turnout when we did something like that, and we every PTO meeting, one of the grade levels did a program.
Okay.
So we had a good turnout for our PTO meetings, but every PTO meeting, one of the grade levels did a program.
Okay. Now, did you have like a family fun night?
No.
No, so you didn't do family fun
We had no
nights.
space to do anything like that.
Okay.
Right.
Do you have any fond memories you'd like to share about being at Arthur besides what we've talked about?
Probably a lot of my memories go back to the students I had. There are a couple of them that I still hear from, and that's been quite a while ago, but we had a very small staff because we only had one teacher per grade level. And so we were a very close-knit staff, and I still am in contact with some of the staff members, and that, just it goes back to the people that I worked with and the people that I taught. That was the first school where I taught. They were my family. My real family was over 100 miles away, so the teachers at Arthur Street became my second family. So I have a lot of fond memories of the people that I worked with, and like I said, the kids. And one thing that was fun for me that I didn't have time to do in later years was every day after lunch we sang for 15 or 20 minutes. And we had time to do that. I was at
I'll bet you did. I bet you played the piano.
I did. But it was just a calming, relaxing, get ready to work thing when we came in from lunch, and we did that every day. But you don't have time for those things so much now.
Now, we're going to have schools closing just like Arthur Street did. What was the feeling when the families knew that it was not going to be a school building for those students anymore?
Parents were upset. They were sad. Students were wondering where they were going to go at first. Right. And they did end up, depending on where they lived, they went to either Osborne or Grant when Arthur Street closed. But there was a lot of apprehension, just like I think some students are going to be apprehensive about where they're going next year. There was apprehension for the teachers. We didn't know where we were going when Arthur Street was being closed, and I actually had to go interview for open positions in the district. I didn't get to pick a position that was open. I had to go interview with the principals to get a different job in the district.
And do you know the reason why they decided to not make that a building for students anymore? Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember the specifics.
Okay.
I mean, I think it was partly just enrollment.
Right.
And since it was such a small school, they thought they could just divide the students into other buildings and then use the building as an office. So it was, it cut down on staff some.
Sure.
It cut down on services because they no longer had to bring in lunches and things like that.
So maybe a money saving.
I think it was partly money saving, right?
Okay.